Fast forward, you come out watch on so GH politics are winning. Podcast stories are trending because make headlines. Then Jim Rainier be Akroma ni di mnia horak say mo me shock say mo rain simu. Onu aye koyin simu a. Eye with regards to Adu-Boahen trial no koso no. Na ne lawyer Emma Adu-Boahen. Eye lawyer Emma Adu-Boahen atachia any ensem trefo issue mu. Na we na o chire bibi say asɛm no yɛbɛtumi enya the bottom of it, yɛbɛtumi draw a concrete conclusion on this trial padia ɛne na ɛyɛ Dapaa ɛyɛ sɛ wɔyɛ dɛ wɔbɛm because ɔno ɛna no yɛ former defense minister ɛna asɛm no nso no ɔno ne bɛtumi akyerɛ sɛ ampani ampa sɛ sika yɛka ho asɛm yɛtumi ɛfa papa no nsa ase ɛwɔ ɛyɛ naso ɛyɛ hɔ ɛyɛ National Signal Bureau hɔ. Enti enka Dapaa and serve as a star prosecution. KCD hundodo. Ntiase kra adenti. Ena me fancy me na me lawyer. And my client. Not trial na ekoso no. Me being the lawyer for me client no. Me chere court to say Uncle Fire to see an aso benting and me dancing. I don't understand. Me kasabebre mama no adwen chere under the comment section. Abuja for atrase. Afredo can say any security experts be eating komo efasase musi ho organize tonight so. Yimbon realm ne yenhwe ne yeko ene de banso ewo ho medase but mama ne wadwen chira under the comment section eya no share amame na me sure so yin
the former national security minister, that is Albert Dapaa, that he should be called in. It's a key that's in his views figure in this particular case if the state is really committed to getting to the bottom of this matter. Now, this is a slippery slope, is it not? How do we navigate this path of seeking accountability without necessarily compromising what has been described as sensitive national security information?
It's a very tough question. And I think it is an area that we need, to be very, very careful, if we want, to support our justice delivery system. My good friend Atachia is suggesting that the state, must necessarily list the Honorable Dapaa as a star prosecution witness. Well, the prosecution, reserves to itself, the freedom, to select, its witnesses. And if it feels that Dapaa, shouldn't, be one of the witnesses, I don't see why, the defense counsel or the accused person, can insist that because of a certain relationship, therefore, the former Minister for National Security, must, be brought into, the criminal, trial as a star witness. It's up to, the Director of Public Prosecution, to choose or select, the witness, the persons, to testify as prosecution witness. It is not, if the defense feels that Dapaa is vital, they should know what to do. But I don't think that, you see, because if the state feels that the former security minister,
will help their case in any way,
they will not, or will come and destroy their case. The prosecution is not, bound, is not obligated. It is not, something that the criminal justice system will insist that, they may or they may not.
He said he's spoken to Dapaa.
And if he's prepared to, to go and speak and the state says no, what can Dapaa do?
Oh, Mr. Koten, Emmanuel Koten is a security analyst, and this matter has both the law and the security at play. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Emmanuel Koten, can you hear us? Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Well, Fred, thank you for having me. Very good evening to our cherished listeners.
Great. During the early period of this trial, there was a document that was leaked which contained some sensitive national security expenditure items. We're going to put that on the screen right now. And now hearing what Samuel Atachian is talking about, I'll draw you in on how this path should be and could be navigated. And this is it. You recall that there was this Operation Calm Life, anti-kidnapping, violent crimes. This document that was leaked said the reported amount of over 3.7 million had been allocated between 2020 and 2024. The justification on the face of the document was that it was for the stability of the nation, counter violent crimes, and this was received by various personnel and activities. And then also there was a parliamentary, special enactment of National Signals Bureau Act 2020, some 960,000 on the face of that document between 2020 and 2021, which was then described as MP's allowances for the members of the Defense and Interior Committee. We had some members of the Interior Committee coming out to say, well, they don't know about this. Parliamentary, another one as well, the Subsidiary Legislation Committee, some 309,000 was reported to have been given as allowances. Election special operations, allowances and logistics, over 7.2 million for the 2020 elections, for the stability of the nation and peaceful polling. And this was received by various personnel and activities. Then you have election special ops, allowances and logistics, and then the special elections, special operations, support for opposition parties as a communication equipment for election results coalition. This was also denied. At the time, all the opposition parties said they don't even know where this money went to. Then you have some over 5 million CDs said to be election special ops, logistics, vehicles, 2024 Nizam Patrol Platinum, and others. This was supposed to, Mr. Koting, the normal circumstances, this would have qualified to be national security or classified information, right? But in the midst of all of this, we got to know of this. It became public because it was leaked. Now, Samuel Atachian is suggesting that Dapaa is one person the state will have to speak to if they want to get to the bottom of this matter. Is this as a path that would be worth traveling on this case?
Well, Alfred, thank you for having me once again. You see, one of the fundamental challenges in democratic societies is ensuring that national security operatives don't become shield for corruption whilst maintaining operational security. And here's why, Alfred. You see, democratic countries establish the fight against corruption as a core national security interest. Because corruption, as we all know, corrodes public trust. It hobbles effective governance. It also distorts markets and equitable access to service. And sometimes it undercuts development efforts. And eventually it contributes to national fragility, extremism, and migration, and what have you. In our part of the world, our national security architecture is opaque. As a result of that, people hide under it to perpetuate all manners of fraud. And this is a classical example of why we need to learn from best practices. Let's look at the United Kingdom, Alfred. You see, the UK has established the Intelligence and Security Committee of Parliament with statutory responsibility for oversight of the UK intelligence community. That is included the MI5 and the MI6. If you look at the committee, it was strengthened under the Justice and Security Act of 1913. the Security Act of 2013, sorry. And if you look at the legal powers it has, it is not voluntary like our part of the world, where any small thing we say that because of national security consideration, we can do A or B or C, creating that environment where people can perpetrate this kind of crime. If you look at the case of Canada, the Canadian, they replaced its previous oversight body with the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency, which now includes oversight of all national security and intelligence activities. So you see that their operations and oversight is responsive to the needs of their democracy. In the United States of America, you know, the FBI operates under multiple oversight layers. We have the Department of Justice, the Congressional Oversight Committees,
Right.
and the Judicial Review Investigative Steps, the National Accountability through the Office of Professional Responsibility, and Whistleblower Protection for Bureau employees. In our part of the world, Alfred, what is really our national security architecture? So I think our parliamentary oversight committee is letting us down, because Parliament itself has become overly partisan. If you watch the debate in Parliament, anything the government of the day brings on the floor of Parliament, once it has the majority and it's what the government wants, everybody is whipped in line.
Right.
So now we need to look at how we can overcome some of these things through the tight transparency principle. And when I talk about the tight transparency principle, government must allow accessibility, timely information about public spending when it comes to defense and security information. Exemptions based on national security are necessary, which I agree as a security practitioner. But there is the need for clear and rigorous guidelines for withholding information to prevent abuses, just like we are having in this instant case. So it's a very interesting story. We are watching the judiciary as a whole to see how they proceed with this matter. We are not looking that they should hang the dog because it has a bad name. There should be precedent so that it can guide our democracy moving forward. And as a country too, we need to start having a conversation as to what we need to do moving forward over some of these things. I think we can introduce independent anti-corruption agencies. Unfortunately, we have the special prosecutor and the Yoko.
Right.
Also, if you look around things around these agencies, there's political undercurrent somewhere, or they are poorly funded. And the judicial oversight, I mentioned the judiciary.
Yeah, so essentially the point is that you want this entire national security, tag that is given to or used to describe some information as sensitive has to be done away with, so that it would be one of the ways of dealing with corruption in the security sector. Appreciate you for this.
Definitely, because great. If you look at Ghana's case today, it illustrates why corruption why corruption in national security is not about moral failure, but it's about system begging to be gained. So we have deliberately created systems where officials of this national security operative can bend by their whims and caprices for personal gains or whatever.
Right. Thank you so much. Emmanuel Putin is a security analyst joining us on this. So in effect, since that's for you, it is not really an obligation for the state to. It's just a matter of choice. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure.
Kwekwasa Sare is the former director of the Ghana School of Law, and then also the founder and director of Mount Crest University College. They're also training upcoming lawyers. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Coming up next.
Response, we can follow the Ghana Armed Forces.
All right. So in something like this, how do you complement the efforts for helping the disaster agencies?
Helping disaster agencies.
Helping the disaster agencies, or complementing the efforts of perhaps first response, so to speak, usually?
Yeah, like we are always the first line of response in every disaster. But like every disaster also calls for a multi-sectorial disciplinary approach. So once, looking at this crash, when we got the information, they were still at the launch in Obuasi when the information came that, and then it took about more than an hour for the information to reach NADMO and the other agencies. So, and then like my brother said, moving from Obuasi to where the incident had occurred, in itself took about 2 hours before you trek to the site of the incident itself. So, talking about cordoning off the area, and this is a mountain top, a wide area. By the time these professionals or agencies, mandated agencies, got to the scene, the locals had taken over the whole place and started even with the recovery process. Some had carried parts of the aircraft, whatever they could lay their hands on, they had carried it away. So it was very difficult to call it. But the locals indeed relayed the call. When the incident occurred, they called the chief executive of the area, who also called the regional minister, who were at that function in Obuasi. So that call was there, that process. So it's not entirely true that the locals, they knew that they had to call. But then before then, let's try and save the situation. Let's see what we can do. And like I'm saying, it took about 2 to 3 hours for officers to get to the scene. By that time, the locals had already. So, and once you get to the scene, you need to be guided by the volunteers because they know the terrain, and then you need a briefing from them on what has happened, what has been done so far before you proceed. So that was exactly what was done, and then all 8 bodies were recovered and then transported and then brought to Accra for the necessary ceremonies.
Mr. London, assessing per your experience and observation over the years, are policy, perhaps deployments or implementation, when some of these things happen, or even in readiness to preempt, etc., what should we be doing right?
I think...
because there's a particular incident where we say 911 is on the lips of everyone else. They hear a noise, they call 911. They see somebody in the neighborhood, they call somebody else.
Yes. Well, it's on this platform this morning that I think I heard the number 112.
Wow. And that is for the first time?
Yes. No, I'm being very honest. 112. I'm hearing it for the first time. Me, I always knew it. And we were taught from primary school, 999.
999.
Yeah. Then along the way, it became 911.
112.
112. The numbers changed.
It looks like it's confusing us more. So you.
You see,
so what number is that? Your number is what?
112.
112.
Okay.
Okay, but I think later on became emergency number became 911. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I know 911. But I've seen other short codes and things all over. But we must standardize it and let everybody know. In the past, we were always, in those days when there was VALCO, the safety standard in VALCO was such that even the way you walk in the place is controlled. Safety was 100%. If you went to Obuasi mine or any of the mines, safety was a way of life.
Rigorous.
If you go to the armed forces, the military establishments, and everything is safety-based. Safety and security. You don't go. I've been to construction sites in other parts of the world, particularly in Turkey. You do not, if you are not supposed to be here, you are not there. And every individual on the site is identified. You see, so the policies and protocols are made national issues. Everybody knows it. But it looks like in the recent past, Fire Service has their own, NADMO has their own, everybody has their own, and there isn't a concerted approach whereby everybody knows, where the assemblies drum it in, all the local FM stations drum it in. I mean, it is a national ongoing conversation that is present in everybody's mind at any material time. You know, I want to commend the Ghana Fire Service. I've seen that lately there are some new initiatives that they put in place. One of which I understand is that you tend to station
a tender
at markets.
Yeah, we've done that. That's the patrol duties.
Patrol duties. I would want to encourage, I don't know whether it's part of their plans, encourage them that at the markets, do inspections and education of the market women. Because at the markets, as a land economist, there are certain things that are incompatible uses. You can't have somebody selling certain types of hazardous material next to some items, textile and other things. But you see it rampant in our markets. There's no proper zoning. Everybody hangs everything everywhere, you know. So when there's an outbreak here, it travels like, you know. So I would want to see a more pronounced effort to get these policies very clearly outlined and strongly articulated from our educational system, our universities, our all the institutions, so that students and persons have it in their foreminds. GPRTU, I would hope that National Fire Service would have an engagement with GPRTU. New plan station, various stations from time to time, get their leaders to get on their drivers at a regular interval. These things will become conscious to everybody and assist us in this effort, you know. So I think that, yes, this unfortunate tragedy has brought to the fore some of these things that are lacking. And so it reminds us to be able to focus better and see.
We a nsema horo timi koso channel no so. Da sene so ba de ndia dumbi edomani onua yenhyiamu na yensamfa de chinse ensum. Aha, politics are winning.